A warm welcome to all of you. My name is Nida, and I'm a member of the experts panel in the Academy. I'm the CEO of a company called Nash FinTech X, which is based in Luxembourg. It is a technology solutions provider specializing in blockchain and artificial intelligence. I hold a doctorate in computer science with a specialization in the applications of blockchain in finance, especially Islamic finance. And I'm here today to shed light on the prospects of the technology in the Islamic finance sector, as well as to congratulate you on participating in such a valuable course. I'm sure many of you might be deterred by the fact that the technology has not yet seen market adoption. But I'm sure with time to come and with the overcoming of the technological impediments that exist within blockchain itself, you will see a greater adoption of the technology. Perhaps maybe some transformation might occur. You might not see in the form it was brought into the market with, or you might see that there are some changes with respect to the way the technology is being implemented, but the technology is going to be there. And the darkest vision would be that blockchain would not be there in the future, but still the knowledge that you would gain through this course, which would lay your foundation for a digital infrastructure for the financial sector, would be invaluable. It would shed light on the use of other technologies which assist blockchain as well. And this is going to introduce you to the technology domain, which is what is needed at this juncture. So, talking about the prospects of blockchain in the Islamic finance sector, let's focus on Islamic capital markets. Sukuk is a very vital instrument, and as of now, its use is limited to big corporations or governments. You don't see startups or SMEs benefiting from it. You don't see an investor in the average income group being able to participate in the investment process. So this can be changed through blockchain. You can use tokenization to enable both SMEs and startups to fulfill their funding requirements by using Sukuk. And this will also expand the investor base by enabling people in the lower income category or the average income category to become investors. Now, let's talk about escrow accounts. So, consider Murahaba contract. So, you have the buyer and the seller. So, as soon as the buyer deposits the capital for the seller, the transfer of ownership would take place through a smart contract. So, what you would see is a reduction in the time of the execution of the contract, an automated delivery, perhaps you would say, of the asset, and of course there would be more transparency. Then let's talk about crypto wallets. So we can have Sharia compliant wallets for that matter. And what this will help in is that consider so many people living in developing and underdeveloped countries where they do not have access to normal financial services. And people who do have access, there are many who don't willingly go for bank accounts because it conflicts with their ethical or religious principles. So, blockchain and the use of Sharia compliant wallets can help to remove this obstacle. And you can have more and more people participating in the financial services, having their own Sharia compliant wallets. And what you would see through this is an opening up of an entirely new world of opportunities. You would have people transacting, you would see people doing trade and business with other people, which was not possible in the past. This would help to boost the economy. This would help to uplift the economic status of the people participating in the trade. So the potential can be you know it can be huge. Then let's talk about the halal industry. So for sure, when you talk about the halal industry, people are always worried about whether the product is truly halal or not. So you can have the halal certificates on the blockchain. You can have more transparency regarding the origin and origin of the product and the route the product takes, telling you that okay, the product is truly what it is ordained to be. It is halal and there is no contamination with, let's say, pork. Then you can think also in terms of a Sharia or an Islamic digital identity. Now, this digital identity will not just help you on in the finance sector, and you can have a blockchain-based Islamic digital identity to ensure that it is, authentic. And this identity will not just help you in your financial activities. It can also help when perhaps if they are proper tools to address the usage, then it can also help to facilitate your trips for Umrah and Hajj. Then we can also think in terms of other usages, like for example, lawyers. So you can have proxy lawyers, and you can have the basic contracts drawn up in terms of a smart contract, so that if there is any violation of a specific term in the contract, you don't need to rush to the legal department, and both the parties know that there has been a violation, and you can save some money unless you have a party which is really aggressive. So if you have two peaceful and good business partners abiding by the law, and you have a smart contract functioning in place, and soon in time I expect and hope that smart contracts would be tantamount to legal contracts. And this has also happened in the state of Arizona, so where the smart contracts you see are considered to be equivalent to legal contracts. So this can also happen with time in other countries as well. And so once it is done, then any violation on it would be known by both the parties concerned, and necessary actions could be taken. And so you save on the fees of, or let's say the recurrent fees of the lawyers after the initial draft of the contract. Then we can also think in terms of insurance. So takafful, which is Islamic insurance, you can use a smart contract to work as or work individually as a takafful operator, or work in combination with the takafful operator to see where the funds are being dispersed. So there is more transparency, there is less scope of fraud. And of course, when you couple this insurance mechanism with other technologies like IoT or artificial intelligence, you can have people getting cash in real time whenever they need it. So the prospects can be many. What I highlighted just is just a couple of them. And like I mentioned, a lot of R&D work is being done in the domain in the conventional finance sector. And I think this course will help to speed up the Islamic finance sector to come up with novel products and services catering towards users, or you can say customized services for users, to ensure that they are getting what they want, or they are getting comparable services that they get, for example, from the conventional finance sector without interest. So I wish the best to all of you, and I wish the best to the academy and Algorand as well for this course. And best of luck in learning. Best wishes. Thank you.